you a first impressions with the new Foxtrot Mike ranch rifle. And I think this is a pretty clever gun because with ammo economies constantly up and down, availability, price, you never know when you're going to run into a situation where an alternative is going to be ideal. So I think it's cool what they're doing. Let's get started. This is a 24-ounce bottle, and we're just going to... Okay, right, we're running into a little bit of a... That is not... Were you supposed to get fat-free? Well, look who it is. Little daytime ambush. Boris, Rufus, Penelope. That here ain't healing up so well, is it? You counting on all dogs go to heaven? Well, I got news for you. Coyotes go to hell! Imagine with me, if you will, that Eugene Stoner, the father of the AR-15, was born not in Indiana, but in Sutton County, Texas, on a ranch. What would he have come up with? Well, maybe he would have come up with something like this, the ranch rifle. Okay, now, scenario number 2, wipe your memory of that last part. Imagine that the US bans the AR-15. You can't build them, you can't buy them, and you can't trade them. But you still want to celebrate your Second Amendment rights, keep the government at bay, stick it to the man. What do you go out and get? Maybe you go get one of these, maybe not. That's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get started, I do want to thank the channel sponsor of this episode, X-Star USA, maker of fine polymer bits out of Arizona in the US of A. Practice your Second Amendment rights any way you can. Also pick up some 18-round Glock mags. They're extremely affordable. They get more affordable the more you buy, and you never know when you're not going to be able to buy mags, so just get as many as you can now. The ammo sponsor for this channel is Global Ordnance. Big thanks to them for providing ammo so that I can do these tests, these shenanigans. I ran primarily Igman 55 Green 223 for this test, and it performed fantastic. Also, make sure to check out my Instagram at 12_spies. Instagram doesn't let my content be seen outside of people that already follow me, so I'd appreciate your support. Consider it the satiating drip between these episodes. Let's get back to it. Before we get into what it is, why it is, and whether you should it, I do want to disclose that Foxtrot Mike did not pay me anything to produce this. These are my own thoughts. They sent me the gun, all the accessories were provided by me, and all the ammo fired was provided by Global Ordnance or myself. This is a pre-production unit, so it is not a 100% indication of the final product. There are some small differences too between the majority of these that will be sold and the one that I have here, like this trick barrel, which I will get into a little later. And I am not giving any legal advice about this. So if you have questions about whether it's legal in your state, like will this work in California? I don't know. It depends on what day or hour it is. Now, before we get into the legal stuff or whether or not this could take the place of an AR-15, if the AR-15 were to fall, we have to ask ourselves the more important question of whether or not it passes the vibe check. And in my experience, based on all the people that saw this, held it, and shot it, the answer is a resounding yes. Men will look at this and think, hell yeah. With that out of the way, let's get into what it is. It kind of looks like a love child between an M14A and an AR-15, when in actuality, it is a bufferless AR-15 upper on a custom lower that is designed to take Remington 870 stocks. So the Remington 870 is one of the most popular shotguns in the world, which means that it has a wealth of customization and different stocks available. This is a Magpul SGA stock. It's lightweight, it's inexpensive, it has a lot of customization for your length of pull, the amount of padding. There are covered up QD mounts for sling, or you can run them through the back here like this. And if you don't know what an FM15 or a BRN 180 upper are, they are bufferless uppers that use a form of either piston-driven or direct impingement paired with a recoil system that's either mounted in the front here or in the back. The BRN 180 is much more like an AR-18, and then this one is kind of its own thing. It's a side charger, which is controversial to some. I found it to be rather functional. The only situations where I found it limiting were if I was running a longer optic like the 2-12 that I ran that had the sunshade on the front, but you can get a paratrooper charging handle which is parallel with the frame, and then has a fold-away charging handle. Now the real star here is the lower, which somehow marries an AR-15 style upper to a shotgun stock. And the first thing you're going to notice is that the trigger group has been moved back to where the pistol grip usually starts, creating this space right here, which I like to call the tactical taint. Up front, you have a traditional AR-15 mag release with a AR-15 style mag well that takes AR-15 mags. And then on the other side, we have an ambi mag release, which is very important, AR-15 bolt catch and release. And then a little further back, we have a crossbolt safety, which is one of the other biggest differences. If you're used to hunting shotguns or hunting rifles, a crossbolt safety isn't going to surprise you. The location might be a little bit different because in an 870 shotgun, for instance, it's usually located behind the trigger group, but it's easy to reach, though it is a little bit high, which we'll get into more when we talk about the performance. And then the trigger is actually hinged on the bottom. It does not accept traditional AR-15 drop-in triggers, despite the fact that there are these 2 pins here. And when you pull this trigger, it's activating a bar that goes up and uses what is very similar to an AR-15 trigger group, but not quite. And that is because it is stretching this distance across the tactical taint. I'm going to say that as many times as I can. It is, as I said, direct impingement. This is a mid-length gas system connected to a rather trick barrel. Like I said, it will not ship with these unless specified, but these are one-piece barrels, which means the gas block and the suppressor adapter are all one piece. Why would they do that? Well, if you have a suppressor and it's non-concentric, that's an issue. You start getting baffle strikes. So if you remove points of failure, you don't have an adapter, a barrel with a thread, with an adapter that has a thread, the piece, and then another thread, and then your suppressor, that's multiple points of failure. So what's the result of all these changes?
Okay, 1.43, 1.96.
Well, first and foremost, it's not going to steal an AR-15's lunch money. I was slower with this over an AR in every single category, and I don't think any amount of practice is going to fix that. For instance, you cannot do a mag change without taking your hand either off the grip or using your offhand, which is going to slow you down compared to an AR-15. So if you're presenting, you can either reach over, use the ambi mag release and drop the mag, and then procure another one and place it in and then drop the bolt. Or the method that I came up with, and I'm taking credit for this fully, is to switch your hand over the trigger group, push the mag release, and then as that one drops out, you're getting another mag, placing it in, and dropping the bolt. And that worked pretty well for me. I was still not as fast as I was with an AR, but it was significantly faster than utilizing my offhand to press the mag release. Now, as far as mags, it did like aluminum mags more than others, and a lot of it has to do with the tight fitment of the mag well. This is a pre-production unit, so I don't know if that's going to be a case when these start shipping out, but Duramag was kind enough to send me several different styles of their 20-round aluminum mags, and then one of their new camo-printed M81 mags, which are going to come like this from the factory, and I think this thing is pretty sweet. Tell me in the comments below, though, what do you like the most? Got the 20-round curved with the Magpul on it, 20-round straight. That looks pretty clean, I think. What looks like it would come from the factory, a 10-round straight mag. Really tucked up in there. Then again, though, I don't know why you would limit yourself to 10 unless it was a legislated thing. And then we have the 20-round curved without the Magpul on it. It does look kind of funky with a 30-round mag. It's not my favorite, but I wouldn't not carry a 30-round mag just because of the looks. Maybe I would. That's not fair. I probably would. But this is my favorite, the 20-rounder with the curved mag. I feel like it kind of looks like the M1 4A, especially in kind of a SOCOM setup. The other slowing factor is safety. No longer can you disengage the safety with your thumb and then have your finger ready to relocate down to the trigger. You have to disengage it and then move down and pull the trigger. And that added quite a bit of time on my split times for like a build drill, for instance, where I was about half a second slower than I was with an AR-15. And then there's the trigger. It's industrious, we'll say that. The feel is different because you're pulling up on it rather than back on it. They are working on a better trigger. Travel is deceptive because you're pulling up on the trigger. You'll get a lighter feel if you're farther up, but then obviously you're gonna get more travel. If you pull farther down, then it's pretty heavy. This one has measured I've been measuring between 7 and 8 pounds on this one. Nope, that was 12 pounds. Pull up top. That was 8. 6.6. Sometimes it'll just throw a random light one in there. Again, it's kind of where you get it. 8. I'm just gonna put it down for 7. This will also be chambered in 308, 300 Blackout, and I believe some other calibers like 7.62 by 39. Don't quote me on that. Why would you want this instead of an AR-15? It fails to outperform it in every category. It doesn't have a folding stock, so it's not more versatile. I mean, it looks different and it's cool, but what is it for? Well, I think as a general purpose ranch rifle, something that you would use for small game, coyotes, varmints, patrolling your land, and you're not worried about split times, then I think this makes a case for itself. All right, so lastly, I talked to Paul Noonan and Foxtrot Mike pretty extensively about why they made this gun. And one of the things that they came back to was, and it's not the only reason they made this gun, was if the AR-15, the poster child of freedom and also the poster child of the gun control movement, was ever taken down and you couldn't build them, you couldn't buy them, and you couldn't trade them like in some states that we're seeing now, what would take its place? What could you go out and get that would still circumvent the law, be legal, and give you most of the capabilities of an AR-15? And that's what they wanted this to be. I think it's great that they're coming up with something that's not just fun and different and hopefully will spur sales in this slow firearms market that we're experiencing, but is also a potential workaround in the worst case scenario that we lose the AR-15. Now, do I think that that's a realistic solution? And I'm not trying to hate, I'm just gonna say no. If the AR-15 were to be banned, we're in a much worse scenario, and I don't think there's gonna be alternatives to turn to. The AK-47 is gonna fall, yes, but as you see some of these new gun legislation proposals, they include anything that's semi-automatic. Canada banned handguns, semi-automatic handguns. So anything that can be considered an assault weapon, which is such a dumb and broad term, if it takes detachable magazines that can have a capacity over 10 rounds and it can fire rapidly, they're gonna consider that an assault weapon. The momentum that they'll get off of banning the AR-15, they're just gonna broaden the language and they're gonna have it include everything. I mean, this thing takes AR-15 style barrels, it takes AR-15 style attachments on AR-15 style rails, it has an AR-15 style bolt, controls, magazines, and it shoots AR-15 bullets. Do you think they're gonna care that it's got a shotgun stock on it? I'm sorry, they're not. They're not gonna care because they wanna take your freedom away no matter what. I love Foxtrot Mike for doing this, and I hope they keep doing it, and I hope I'm wrong. Now, I think what this really does, and what I like the most about it, is that it shows just how versatile and how many applications there are for bufferless style uppers. So you've got the FM15 upper, you've got the BRN 180 upper, you've got the Jackal upper, and there's so much that you can do with these. You can make this, you can also make, I'm working on a video right now with an SCY bullpup kit that uses an FM15 upper, and I think this is kind of the future of the platform. There's so much versatility in the platform, there's so much exploration to be done to see if we can improve on the AR-15, and the fact that people are trying makes me happy. Thanks for watching, and remember, do not modify your beliefs or your personality for the sake of business. If you have the potential to cash in, but you have to subject yourself to things that go directly against your morality or your beliefs, or they put you in a compromising position, or they tell you that whatever you believe cannot stand and that it needs to be suppressed. I went through a lot of corporate trainings that basically said that I was evil for the things that I believed. Stand firm. Believe that this life is not all there is to it. And if it is, that's wildly depressing because some people are doing a lot better than others, and it seems that some people have figured out the rat race and some people never will. But I like to believe, and I do believe, that there is more to this world than just that. So we should not give in to the whims of society. We should not sell out simply because something will give you more success than another. Sometimes love means disagreeing with people unabashedly and going the other way and showing them that their manipulative tactics don't work on people with true character whose foundation is not rooted in this world. You know, new gun oil, how it starts to burn off, it can get you a little spicy. I'm not worried about getting high. I'm just worried about getting a boner.